What's up, y'all? We are back with another edition of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. I'm J Mike. I'm still pinch hitting for Rudo for a few more days. We've got Eric here. We've got AJ here. We're talking the Josh Manson deal. The Avs signed him to a 2-year extension. Okay, maybe that's cause for a little bonus, Jonas, on the intro music. I'll be curious to hear everybody's thoughts on this. Obviously, AJ wrote about it on the site. You can go check that out, of course, at thednvr.com. We'll get into some other moves around the league, maybe have some fun at the end. AJ, what was your initial reaction to this new 2-year deal for Josh Manson?
I think there was a little bit of shock just from the timing of it more than the contract itself. The timing is such an odd part. I mean, free agency opened up a week and a half ago. The Avs didn't really do a whole lot. They haven't really substantially added to their NHL roster. They haven't figured out next year's roster, but they've now made two signings that address next year's roster, the roster 2 years from now. Parker Kelly gets the 4-year deal. Now Josh Manson gets this. I mean, I just don't understand the timing, I guess. But I mean, if you, hey, they've got the same access to Puckpedia as the rest of us. They can go and they can look at the free agents that were available on defense this year and next year, and you can reasonably have the conversation and say, of the guys who are better than Josh Manson, one, can the Avalanche get them? Would their teams let them go? Two, do they replace the unique element that he brings to the table with his physicality and snarl? That sandpaper element that he has that is not present enough on the defense as it should be. And those answers were both no and no. So re-signing him makes sense, but the big question here is availability more than anything else. Yeah, he takes too many penalties. It comes with the territory. Yeah, he makes he makes the occasional mistake with the puck. Comes with the territory. That's just part of it. I know people will tweet at me and be like, "Oh, I can't watch this guy make any more turnovers," and it's just like, okay, well, you got to probably stop watching the NHL then, because that's part of the game. And with Manson, I mean, if it weren't for the injury issues that he would have, I don't think I would have a major problem. His game is probably more suited to a third pairing than a second pairing at this point. And the Avalanche have already started shading him towards that a little bit. But I guess the initial impression is the money is fine, the term is fine. The availability is a really big question mark, and I think the biggest problem that I would have with the deal is that they are tying themselves to the age to his age 34, 35, and 36 seasons now, counting next season as well, where he's already under contract. But age 34, 35, 36 seasons for a guy that is already battered physically and has shown that he might be on the verge of a total physical breakdown because of the way that he plays, and his body is just not holding up the way that it used to. That commitment is a problem for me. But the rest of it, I mean, given who he is as a player, if he's in the lineup, he's reliable, he's fine. I don't really have a strong point of contention here.
I love him. You guys know that. So, and especially at that price. So for me, I'd rather have him than not have him. Multiple questions, come up though when you see something like that yesterday. The righties, I mean, there are too many righties. Yeah, somewhere somehow it will sort itself out, or knocking on woods, but injuries, whatever it is, trade. There's still potential for trades, even when a guy is signed like this. And I know he's got some trade protection, but you're in the National Hockey League, and you might think sometimes a guy is more easily traded if he has just 1 year left on his deal. Sometimes that's the case, or sometimes it's easier to trade a guy when he's got 2 more years because it's a controlled asset, right? So you never know. Rarely it comes with that age, though. And you're right. The problem with Josh has been availability. AJ's got him bang on. That's the best word you can describe him. I call him the whiskey drinker on the back end, meaning he's so different than the other ones. The Avalanche need that. They didn't get that in Brent Burns. Brent Burns we talked about that the other day, is not a physical player. Obviously, I mean, for me, Kale's the best hitter. Besides Josh, Kale's the best hitter on the back end, right? But we don't want Kale to be a killer, right? 30 minutes a night, we don't need him to be a killer. And then Sam Malinsky's certainly not a killer. So, and again, there's still a physicality aspect to the game of hockey. We saw it with the Florida Panthers. So for me, I'm okay with it. I'm liking it. Now, what does this mean? I don't know. But I still feel that they're going to make a trade. I still feel that this is not it. Whether a guy's signed or not, maybe he is the guy getting traded. I don't know. But somebody was asking a question: does it change anything with Marty? Totally different scenario. Marty hitting his stride, you know what I mean, trying to sign a contract, and Manson on the back nine of his career. You know what I mean? This is it probably for Josh after this, after the 2-year extension, which is a great career, physical. And so it's totally different. And Marty obviously having a year left this year in a sense that you don't really know what you got. Is he the guy that can get 110 points, right? You don't know that playing with Nate. Who knows, right? No one knows. He can bet on himself and say that's what I am, but the Avalanche aren't, that's the problem. They're not going to go and find out, you know what I mean? Because then you risk losing him, right, for nothing. So it's not like, what's the rush? Let's deal with it. Well, I got news for you. Like, yeah, you wait till the end of the year next year, you might be in trouble, right? We saw Mitch Marner. So not a situation. So you got to find common ground. So those two are totally separated, totally different. I'm talking about the Manson extension and Marty's extension. But yeah, and sometimes when you're at a standstill a little bit, and like you are right now because of free agency, and still trying to figure out what's the rest of the summer is and what the market is on trades, what's the market left on UFAs, then sometimes you take care of business, like Kelly and Manson, you know what I mean, already signed asset. You just, those are easier things to deal with, and if you feel that they're going to be part of it, or then you get it done. So it's not the end of the world. I don't think it's anything. It's normal, are getting confused a little bit, like, oh, what's going on, they're taking care of, but at the end of the day, everything's methodical, but everybody's got a different envelope, so to speak, right, of what you're dealing with. You know what I mean? So I'm all right with it. I'm glad he's back. Knock on wood on him for injuries, and we should be good with Josh.
Obviously, some durability concerns. He is a guy who I thought popped in person more than I had ever kind of noticed him in the past, watching him on TV. Obviously, the playoff numbers are great. He's got 18 points in 43 playoff games with the Avs, 7 goals. He's been productive in that sense. I like the deal personally. I get the concerns. Only played really one substantial full season in an Avs uniform. 2 of the last 3 years, missed a lot of time, and we'll see on that. But I just keep coming back to what AJ said earlier of, are you going to be able to replace him realistically, especially given what he does bring to this team? And I know he does have some turnover concerns, but I think he's a little bit underrated offensively. Like he makes some nice passes through the zone. He's aggressive, jumps up into the action at times. Obviously, had the big goal in the Dallas series where he jumps up into the play. I like him. I don't know. He's one of the guys that, like, just being there night after night in person, talking to him a couple of times, he kind of won me over. And they've lost a couple of those guys. I liked Druin a lot too, just from my interactions with him. So I'm pro keeping guys who bring good vibes to the locker room. That's my not so expert analysis.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of positives to Josh Manson, and we always see he gears it up for the postseason. The best that he looked all of last year was the 7 games against Dallas. Like,
yeah,
that's what they got him for, is for that time of year. But and I for my money, I thought he did pretty well for the most part. The real problem here, and I know that Eric, we definitely want to get into some of this. The real problem here is that Colorado's on paper second pairing is Sam Girard, Josh Manson again. And I wrote about this in decent detail yesterday. So again, I would recommend people to go read that if they want to get into some of the specifics of it. But Girard and Manson across the last 3 years together, not Manson's deadline edition where everything was really chaotic and he didn't really know what was going on most of the time. The actual 3 years that he's been an Av to this point, first of all, he's only played in 61% of his games. That's pretty bad. That's a huge concern.
Yeah.
But their underlying numbers, they are positive numbers on shot attempts, shots on goal, expected goals, scoring chances, and high danger chances. That's great. That's exactly what you want. At 5v5, those two are doing everything process-wise on the whole. The problem is that they are getting crushed in actual goals scored. Why does this happen? Sam Girard has really good underlying numbers and good goal totals next to Sam Malinsky. Josh Manson, less so away from Girard. The process is a little more uneven, and the goals are still a little more uneven. But with Girard, that should be on paper a great second pairing. And process-wise, if you look at the whole picture, it has gone really well. And you can see why the Avalanche keep wanting it to work, but they're getting crushed in actual goals. And that's a huge problem. I mean, look, you can try and make whatever excuse you want. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. But they both, for my money, the big problem is that both of those guys are prone to making the big mistake, where they will make one absolutely like, what are you doing play in a game? And when they're playing together, sometimes it involves both of them at the same time. And they could finish the night with all of these underlying numbers that I care about. They could be great. And they're on the ice for 2 goals against because they do 2 really, really dumb things, or they do 1 really dumb thing and then they just get a little bit unlucky. You look at the game tying goal in Game 7 against Dallas. Is Sam Girard doing anything wrong? Going to the back post like that? Mikko Rantanen doesn't make the play he's trying to make. The puck does not do what he wants it to do, and it goes in off of Girard's skate. I mean, he doesn't. You can't look at Sam Girard and be like, "You idiot! What are you doing there?" He's doing what he's supposed to do. It's just that's just bad luck. That stuff happens. But there are also a lot of examples of what are you doing? And that pairing has exacerbated those problems because they each will make that big mistake. And that's just kind of a mess. And so it puts the Avalanche now in this position. The contract extension is for 2 years from now. But the contract extension also says we're not trading Josh Manson. Not this summer. We're not trading him this summer. Maybe something happens during the season and the math will change. But at the moment, we're not trading him this summer. And so that makes me look ahead and say, all right, well, what's going on with Sam Girard then? What is the plan here? You've got 4 righties. We've talked about why that's abnormal. You need Manson's physicality somewhere. You weren't going to be able to replace it. Great. You're keeping it around. Fine. That's fine. But now how do you try and work on a roster that at the moment is defensively, it's pretty deeply flawed? What's next?
Let's hang on to that. I want to get Eric's response to it. We do need to take a quick break, shout out a couple of our partners, and then we'll keep this conversation on Josh Manson rolling. Just like your favorite team needs home ice advantage, your home needs home floor advantage. Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to those big box stores. It can be a bit of a process. You know, you're really hoping that the people you're dealing with actually have somewhat of a sense of what they're talking about, but who knows? You know, maybe they're in flooring this week, they're in gardening next week. You just don't know. When you work with Empire, you're going to be dealing with people who live, who breathe flooring. They're dedicated professionals who focus on flooring every single day. They live and breathe it. It truly is just a whole different experience. The virtual floor designer is a great way to see how any floor would fit in your house. Just snap a picture. Really, really easy to use. Everything about the Empire Today process is easy and smooth for you, the consumer. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DNVR listeners can get a $350 discount when using the promo code DNVR. You heard that right, a $350 discount with the code DNVR. Visit Empire Today/DNVR for full details. If you are looking for banking that plays at your pace, whether you're tailgating, grabbing halftime snacks, or just catching the game from the couch, First Bank is in your corner with their secure, easy-to-use mobile banking app. You can check your balance, split the tab for stadium nachos, stay on top of your money anytime, anywhere. It's like having a financial MVP right in your pocket. Here's the play that pays. You could earn $300 when you open a new First Bank checking account. I use it to score tickets for the Avs, for DU hockey. Maybe you want to catch a college football game this fall, whatever you want. It's going to help your game day go strong. If you're ready to take your banking game to the next level, head to efirstbank.com/bonus. That's efirstbank.com/bonus. Certain restrictions and requirements to apply. Member FDIC. All right. I want to go back to what AJ was just getting to, which was essentially what comes next. You know, we've all given some thoughts on Josh Manson, the player, the pros and cons of this extension, but really I think where this gets interesting, as AJ alluded to, what does this mean for potentially some of the other guys? What does this mean for the Avs moving forward? Eric, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, this, I'll go back to what I've been saying. I do believe, not on rumors, I'm not that guy. You guys know that. I'm not. I hate that, you know. But I do believe that there might be a Marty trade this summer. That's just my gut feeling. Do I like Marty? Yes. Do I think he's valuable? Yes. Do I think he's getting traded? Yes. That's my gut. Again, this is just purely, and I'm not
How do you
saying
think that is?
Well, I don't think they're going to find a common ground, you know, to find a contract, and therefore you got to move them. And I just go purely on instincts, purely on gut. This is not to start rumors. I have not talked to anyone. That is just my gut feeling from, it's been complicated in Carolina before. It seems to be complicated right here. It's funny, like you never hear anything on a Makar thing, and then it gets done, right? You know, there's guys that it's complicated. Mikko was complicated. Go back to, you know, his last time where he was holding out, and you know, and again, I get it. I was a player. I'm not against it. I'm fine. Go get what you need. Go get what you can get, and your careers are short. I get that. I was one of them. Listen, I get it. I just think when it's complicated, it stays complicated. This just seems to be, and again, that's me. Just from when there's smoke, there's fire, right? You know what I mean? And I just feel that it could be a little complicated, and I feel that the Avalanche could use him to help themselves on the left side of the defense, to help themselves, you know, getting a little bit of, you know, a player with some upside, a player with some skill, but it's not going to cost them $10 million. That's just my gut, and those moves like you're seeing, like Manson, you know, I don't know. It seems to add, everything's adding up to you're going to see a trade. You know, that's just my feeling. You're asking me the question, and this is non-rumor. I'll say that again. This is not. This is
The
just
aggregators don't care, buddy. They're coming for you. That this is going to get clipped. Where Eric Lacroix says Martin Netsch's trade is impending.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just saying.
But you think these moves stack up to that, though, that it would make sense based on kind of how it's quiet with everything else,
Right.
not super active on the free agent market. Now you do this, they might be working on something bigger behind the scenes.
They were trying to, you know, I don't know. They were in on Ehlers, apparently. Again, if you're in on Ehlers, it's because you're getting rid of someone, right? That's just my gut. I mean, it's math, right? Just look at the top six, and it's like he's the logical one, right? I don't know. And again, I like him. So AJ knows that. He's seen enough hockey with me. I love his style. I do. Now, did I like his playoff? No. Do I think you need a little bit more in playoffs? Yes. And not just him. So it's not fair to I'm not just blaming him. I'm saying, but it would have been nice to get a play here and there, right? You know, and
you need more production from him. You need from a guy on your top line at that stage. Like you just needed more goal production.
And again, I feel that I got no problem when you're making $10 million, $11 million, but go make plays though. I mean, you're the one that gets out there. It's not Parker Kelly that gets out there, right? On the fourth line, it's you. So you can ask all you want, but at the end of the day, that comes with the territory. And this is what in Avalanche Nation we've been used to since the team moved here in 95, 96 is production from the top end guys. And Avalanche 1.0, you had Joe and Peter, and then you had, you know, the Claude Lemieux and the Kaminskis, and, you know, you're talking Mike Ricci, you know, you're talking about clutch in playoffs, like, you know, and that's the same thing, you know. Now you got Kale, you got Gabe, you got Nate, you got, you know, what's his name, Mikko. Guys like that produced, and that's why you got a Stanley Cup. You can't get a Stanley Cup without those guys producing. I understand the third, fourth line, yeah, great, but your top guys have to be top guys, and they have always been. And if you look at this year, well, and again, stop, guys. It's not breaking news. Stop. I'm not breaking anything. It's just my gut feeling. I was asked from my friend Justin my thoughts. It's just, for me, if I can't come to common, you know, ground, then yeah, I would move them. You know what I mean? Obviously. Just basically answer the question.
What do you think, AJ?
Yeah, it puts you in a really bad spot, I think. You know, with the Ehlers thing, it made sense because okay, well, you sign Ehlers, you move Natchez for a defenseman,
Yeah.
but you've replaced that role. If you move Natchez, you're not going to get a top line player and a top defensive prospect or a young defender or whatever. You're not going to get them both. You're going to get you're going to get either a blah defenseman or a blah forward in return, or you're going to get a high draft pick. So which blows a hole into your lineup somewhere else. So what do you want? And if you trade Natchez and you target a young forward, you're getting closer to the paperclip that I love to talk about, because then you've gone from Rantanen to a worse player in Natchez to what would be a worse player in whichever forward they go and get. You would have to be targeting a defenseman for it. And the only way that this makes any sense for me is if you target a defenseman, a young defenseman, but one that replaces Sam Girard. So Sam Girard would have to go in that deal. And because you're giving up two quality players off of your lineup, including Sam Girard in that deal, helps you get a decent forward back in return. Is it going to be a bona fide 80-point scorer? No. but a guy that you can drop in next to Brock Nelson or Nathan McKinnon, he's gonna be in a really good situation. Might be able to elevate his game, and let's just be real. I say this a lot. Everybody's a Nathan McKinnon merchant. You put them next to him, they get better. They produce. So the only way that I think a Marty deal would make any sense is if it's Natchez and Girard going somewhere so that you can specifically get a high-end defenseman and then also get a forward that you're okay plugging into your top six. Because otherwise you're just getting worse for the sake of getting worse, and I'm not a huge proponent. I'm not a huge proponent of moving Natchez just so you can do it.
I prefer to get
But you-
good players in my trades. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, but you can't keep them if you're just going to walk. So you're not going to do that. You didn't do it, Miko. You're not going to do that
Yeah,
with him. That's just
absolutely.
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying the logistics of it. Like, if you move Natchez, you can't just do it for, oh, well, you move Natchez, you need a forward. No, you're moving Natchez because you're trying to get something like really, really good that you can build around for years to come. A guy that you think is going to be around for a while, which is one of the reasons they targeted Natchez and got him in the first place, is because it's a guy that they really liked and it's a guy who was available. Now,
He fits too. Like, not everybody can skate in this system
yeah,
and be impactful, and he fits very naturally.
yeah. I mean, it's not a hard sell, right? But the funny thing is the current Avs roster has so many right-handed D on it that the Avs targeting a young right-handed D would be like, okay, well, immediately that's awkward. But long term makes a lot of sense because two of those D are Josh Manson and Brent Burns. Like, even with the Manson extension, you really want to start phasing that guy into your third pairing. So, it's just such a, I don't know, it's just such a, their roster is in an odd spot. They don't have a ton of cap space, but they're not cap strapped either. Like, they're not giving away players just to try and get under the limit, like what we saw Dallas do with Dumba. You know, they're not paying a second round pick just to push somebody. Just please go away.
That's what happens when you pay a guy like Miko, big time money,
Yeah, well, and it's also,
on top of having
I mean,
other top guys to pay.
that's the funny thing with Dallas is that that's all of, like, that's just to pay for their current roster. Jason Robertson needs a huge raise, and that's paying for next year's roster, which they're in such a different situation than Colorado right now in terms of their cap situation. One of the things that I did want to mention with the Avs next season, they don't have any major contracts other than Natchez. But after that, coming off the books, Jack Drury, I guess, Ivan, Sam Malinsky, Brent Burns, and Scott Wedgwood. I always forget Wedgwood. But $26 million right now, $3 million of that is going to go to Burns if they don't keep that $3 million around for this year. So you're 22. You need about 22 million. Or they have about 22 million for next year's cap. That's workable when even if Natchez gets $10.5 million, there's not even half that number, and you don't have big deals that have to come off of that you have to re-up next year, and that's unlike Dallas where they've got like Harley, Robertson, et cetera, et cetera. So pretty interesting situation that they're in. The Manson deal doesn't really hurt them that much, but I remain curious about what they have in store for next year's roster because we look at it, Puckpedia, just for the sake of putting guys on there, has the Avs sitting with Ty Felber, Ivan, Nikita Pristupov as forwards on their roster. I've said this. I don't think that those guys are going to be on the opening night roster. Not all of them are going to be on the opening night roster. So there's still quite a bit of work left to do here.
All right, we are going to take one last break here, then we'll keep it rolling. We'll talk about that Dallas trade, talk about a couple of things that happened nationally, maybe give some final thoughts, put a bow on this current convo. But let's shout out those partners real quick, and then we'll keep the party rolling. Mando is a men's deodorant brand that's hyper-focused on keeping every aspect of a man's body smelling fresh and clean. They really mean every aspect. This is not your traditional boring underarm deodorant. This is whole body deodorant, and you can put it anywhere. It's stinky season. Don't let your stinky self ruin everybody's good time. This is going to help you keep all your stench zones, your pits, but also, your butt, your balls, your grundle. That's a fun word. Smelling nice and fresh. They've got scents geared towards men like Bourbon Leather, Cloverwoods, Mount Fuji, and Pro Sport. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. Comes with solid stick deodorant as well as cream deodorant, and you're going to get a couple of free products of your choosing on top of that, plus free shipping. If you use our exclusive code, you can save $5 off your starter pack with the code DNVR. That equates to 40% off. Use that code DNVR at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Trucks have always been a part of Toyota's DNA for generations. Toyota's built durable legends destined for greatness and perfect for Colorado. Whether you're conquering off-road trails or hauling the weight of the world, there's a Toyota truck that's just right for you, like the 2024 Tacoma. The Land Cruiser's epic. They've got 17 models with all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. Really necessary, especially in Colorado if you're going to do anything, in the mountains or off-roading or anything like that. Sometimes you need that little extra oomph, and also just from the snow and all that junk. They've got more low and zero emission vehicles than any other automaker. 16 hybrid vehicles to choose from, like the Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota and Boulder, Groove Toyota and Littleton, Mountain States Toyota and Denver, Stevenson Toyota East and Aurora, and of course Stevenson Toyota West and Lakewood. Toyota, the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche, the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places. I got a question.
What's
up?
I'm just going back to our chat there. I love interacting with chat. And is it NYX? It says that we paid Columbus to take Miles Wood. Would you consider paying Columbus to take Miles? No, I mean, we got second to third and Brindley that's going to play, for the record. For Charlie, Charlie's a UFA. At the end of the year, it was a UFA. And then Miles' contract. And nobody retained, right? I mean, we didn't retain anything, correct?
Correct.
So I wouldn't say that's we didn't pay for Miles to go away. I mean, right?
No.
That was a good deal.
What Dallas did, sending a second round pick in Matt Dumba for Kolyachonok, who is like a at best rotational D, who may not even be on their NHL roster, is really not comparable to the Avs getting one of Columbus's top 5 prospects, a second and a third round pick for Charlie Coyle. Like, I like Charlie Coyle, and he would have been really useful in Colorado's lineup, but we don't need to pretend like Charlie Coyle was awesome. He was real bad in that playoff series. So, for as much as people are like, oh, Marty Necas wasn't good in that series. This guy wasn't good. That guy wasn't good. As soon as Charlie Coyle got traded, everybody was like, we can't live without Charlie Coyle. And it was like, he was one of the worst Avs in that series. So, I don't really think that that's like paying Columbus to take Miles Wood off their hands. I think.
I mean, it's a fair comment by everybody. It was interesting.
Do you want to get into that Dallas trade, or do you want to keep talking about the Avs roster and the potential implications of the Manson extension?
We can hold off on Dallas till later if we still have other things that we need to say about it.
Yeah.
Say about the Avs roster. I mean, really, it's
you guys are the analysts here. I'm asking you what does this mean? We didn't talk about Malinsky. Like, what is the impact there potentially?
Yeah, I think uh we're really in the same situation of like what's the plan for all the righties. Again, just because it's odd to have that many righties. You're now tied to Manson for 2 more years. Um, Sam Malinsky, I think it would be a really big ask for Sam Malinsky to be a second pairing defenseman for you, like in like a playoff series, you're running it. And I know that Colorado had some pretty good success running Girard and Malinsky together. So when I was talking about their second pairing problem with Girard and Manson, they already have started working on it a little. Um, but like the Sams together, is that really a second pairing? Is that really is that like I guess I don't see that as a real second pairing. I don't buy that despite their numbers last year. That's one that you want to put in insulated situations. And right now, if you were to run them together, that means you're putting Manson and Burns. And I guess which guy
Seems
plays the left side?
suboptimal athletically.
But well, and like again, you're talking about hey, you would have good size, and one guy would be really physical, and one guy would be really not. So at least Manson would be pretty comfortable stylistically. But um, I mean, you're lying to yourself if Brent Burns signed to be a third pairing guy in Colorado. There's no way they're viewing him that way. There's no way they're going to utilize him that way. And if the idea is to make Girard and Malinsky your third pairing, okay. But I'm not sure how Burns and Manson together are going to go. And there isn't like a good iteration of that lineup. If you want to go strictly left, right, left, right, left, right, then one of those righties is out of your lineup. It's probably Malinsky, and that means Keaton Middleton is in there. Is that better? But
Well,
I also don't think so.
I mean, here's my take on the four righties. And listen, I know a lot of coaches in this league. They like lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty. They're big believers in it. Uh, Listen, I was a winger. I wasn't a D, um, and that's a fact. Not I was a left winger, and a lot of people couldn't play their offsides. For many reasons. You know what I mean? Forget about the offensive side of things, like Ovechkin and the one-timers, and yeah, all good. But we're talking about on the defensive side of things, like picking up a puck on the rim. There, you know what I mean? Like, it's a big difference. It's just your peripheral vision is different, from what's coming down at you. There's a lot going on. Uh, for the defense, it's a little bit different. It's a different position. Um, it's just the habit of reading and reacting. Uh, you're so methodical, and it happens so quick. The NHL is so fast. Forget about the speed. It's just fast. Everybody thinks fast. Everybody acts fast. Everybody decides fast. And when you're on a different side, it can throw you off, and it just makes you think and blink, and you're not ready. And but there's some guys that can play their offsides. There's some guys that are good on their offsides because that's what they prefer, and that's why they did it for years before on different teams or whatever. So maybe I'm missing something on Manson, Burns. Um, I wouldn't throw Sam Malinsky in there because he's still a young player, even though he's not young. But he's, what has he got? 100 and something games, right? It's not like he's got the most experience. Um, so that's kind of where the lefty and righty comes from. Maybe we're missing something. I don't know. Maybe you are, AJ. I don't know. Like some guy really wants to play the left side. Keaton Middleton, of course. Yeah, we know the value that he brings. It's the toughness and all that kind of stuff. And you don't have to like him or not. Like, um, what I'm trying to say, and he did well last year. In the position he was put in, he did really well. I mean, you have to give him credit from what he used to be 3-4 years ago to what he is now. And that's why I say Prater does a great job with the D's. He does. Prater makes D's better on this organization. So with that said, um, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I don't, and then it causes problems at times too, because some guys will rebel too, in a sense, and they're like, God, they got me playing my offside, and that's not what I am, and you know, what I mean, then they're mad, and I'm not playing good, but no crap, I'm on the wrong side, and so again, I just don't know, and maybe we're missing something, and hence why they did what they did. Now, Sam, I like Sam Malinsky. I do, and this is where I'll defend Sammy G the rest of my life. Uh, the rest of his tenure with the Avalanche, he plays hard minutes. Those are tough minutes. When you're playing top four, you're playing against the opposition's like top six, and it's easy to go out there as a third pairing guy. And that's, I'm not downplaying anything from Sam Malinsky, but it's easy to play third pairing. It is if you're a good player, and Sam's a good player. But you all of a sudden you're asked to go play night in and night out in 3 and 4 in 3 different time zones, divisional opponents, heavy opponents, and you got to go play 23 minutes a night against top 6-4. It's a different ball game. I don't know if Sam can do that, Malinsky. I don't. I know Sammy G can. I can tell you that with his eyes closed. And yeah, Sammy G, a lot of people have asked and said that he should be traded. Listen, I'll say it again. He's got a lot of value in this league. This is not, he's not here because they can't trade him. If people think that they can't trade him, guys, I am telling you, take my word. If you don't take my word on anything, take my word on this one. 31 teams will take him. He's an excellent hockey player. Yes, he's smaller, and if you're taking him to go and defend in front of the net, yeah, great. We all know the argument. Awesome,
right?
Sure, but that's not what he is. But if he was, then he'd be a 15 a year player, right? You know, he'd be winning the Norris every year. So at the end of the day, good player. So when you're taking guys out of position, when I say position, when you're taking guys like it's like a peewee team, and you believe you're a AAA team, and then you go play those tournaments and you get your butt kicked because you were playing out of your element. It's dumb. You know what I mean? Like, well, it's the same thing. You can make a player look bad in the NHL. A player with not a lot of experience, you can make him look bad if you don't slot him right. You know what I mean? And if you slot them wrong, it can be career detrimental to some guys. And some guys have fallen out of this league because too much to chew on too quick. Next thing you know, 3 years later, they're out of this league. They'll never play in this league ever again. So you got to be careful in where you slot people. It's very important.
Makes sense, right? Like if you're thinking about every move and second guessing it with the speed with the speed of the game, like you're just not going to be effective. And, you know, in the Toyota chat, the Juice says, just teach Manson to hold the stick the other way. That makes me think of that scene in Moneyball where they're like talking about playing first base and Brad Pitt's character playing Billy Bean. It's not that hard. You know, tell him, Wash, it's incredibly hard. It's not just, it's not that simple of, well, just play on the other side. Like the speed of the game, it's just such a tougher ask than I think it seems on the surface.
And then to add to it, and I said that, Sam Malinsky, that's a great job by Mike Battaglia and his crew. You know, college free agent.
Yeah.
You sign a guy like that. He was a leader at Cornell. He was captain. He comes in, plays 20, 30 games that year in the NHL, and played some in the playoffs. Then this past year, that's a good job. Now, does he have value? Yeah, you're not going to fetch a first round pick for Sam Malinsky. He has value to the Avalanche first and foremost because he's at $1.5 million, which is a low price, and they know that he can play some minutes. So right away, you have value towards your own team. Now, towards the rest of the league, does he have value of fetching a first-round pick? No, but he has value in the sense that if a team is looking for a guy that can give you some minutes, and that doesn't make $5 million a year, then he has value. So, you know, I mean, it's always the way you look at it and what you need. It will dictate the value that is associated with you. So now, could he be the guy move? Absolutely. That's a great question by Jamie. Like, it's a great question. Maybe that is a guy they move. You know what I mean? I don't know. Again, Wayne Gretzky got traded twice. Third time it was a free agency. But yes, anybody can get traded. You know what I mean? But usually the guys that make $1.5 million, you know, and that are good, they stay with you because they're valuable that way. Because they don't cost you a lot of money when you're, towards the cap. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We shall see. But yes, Anthony's right. I mean, Malinsky does have some value. He's played himself into that. You know what I mean? Maybe the value was like this 2 years ago out of a college free agent to now he's got some value in the NHL.
Yeah, well, he's proven that he can handle some NHL minutes, and that's always going to be he's a 26-year-old right-handed defenseman that can handle minutes and whose game was on the upswing in the second half of last year. I mean, he's gonna have value. No, he's not gonna get a first round pick. No, he's not gonna be like a major part of a trade, but the Avs would need to be careful moving that guy because he's 26. Josh Manson, even though they just signed him, he's currently 33. He'll be 34 by opening night. And then Brent Burns is 40. Like, Brent Burns isn't going to be here for a long time. This is most likely going to be a one and done for Brent Burns. So you need to be careful. Yeah, Malinsky, the thing about the deal that they gave Malinsky was, yeah, it's a good deal in that 1.4 is a fine price, but it only got him 1 year. That walked him right to free agency. He's going to get $3 million next year. If anything that we saw about this market, he's going to get $3 million next year. So the Avs need to be careful there, trying to move him, because if they move him and then Brent Burns retires, okay, great. Now you have to figure out what to do next year as well. Now you're probably spending $4 million on well, you're probably spending $3 million on Brent Burns' contract next year. No matter what, you're probably spending $3 million on Burns' deal next year because of the 10 games played incentive that they will most likely want to carry over into next season. So then you're gonna have to spend money on replacing that guy. And then if you don't keep Malinsky, you trade him. Then you've got to whatever money is going on that guy, and then to replace Malinsky, like you've got to be careful about how you approach it, and keep in mind that the future does somewhat matter. I'm not saying you need to be obsessed with it. It's not the world that they're in, but you've just got to be careful with it, because you can turn around and look up and go, "Oh, where did all of our defensemen go?" And great, now Josh Manson is our third best defenseman because we traded Sam Girard, and Sam Malinsky walked in free agency and Brent Burns retired. Like, before you know it, you could be looking at it and going, "Oh, great. Now we have to spend all of our resources on this." Kind of the way that they did with that second line center position. And they're going to have to do again at some point because Brock Nelson's 33. But for right now, they're fine. But asking Sam Malinsky to make that jump, for me, it's unrealistic. He's not. I just don't think he's got the juice for that. Those, Eric, as you said, those are hard minutes. Malinsky showed a lot of really good underlying numbers last year, but they were protected minutes. A lot of his good minutes came in against weaker competition, lower lines, going against depth guys. Hey, you need to win those. You need to win those shifts too. That's great. There's value in that. But trying to get him, if you put him with Sam Girard, there's going to be a temptation to put him in harder minutes because that's what G has always had. That's going to change the math there. It's just they've got a really delicate balance on their roster right now, because they've put themselves into kind of this awkward alignment, the awkward deployment situation.
That's a great point by you. What I was going to add is just think of Jacob Middleton, and you guys know that I don't mind him. So leave it at that. This is not an argument here. And I know what the Avalanche value and the toughness and everything, but
You
Jacob,
mean Keaton?
Sorry, my God, Jacob, his brother. God.
Yeah.
Keaton, again, I'm going around like lingering, call him Charlie. So Keaton, the right one, the one that's here, the big fella. And think about it as if you don't think he gets protected minutes, then you're wrong. He plays protected. You know what I mean? And just go back and watch games. And this is not bagging on Keaton because I like him. So, but if you don't protect Keaton, he's gonna get exposed. You know what I mean? And that's where they did a good job last year with him. I thought Prater did a great job with him. He was never put in the wrong situation. Sometimes on the road, you might be put in the wrong situation, and you can see it's a little hard. Listen, it's a tough. I'm not making fun of him. It's a freaking hard league. This league is so good, and when you're in the wrong spot, you stick out like a sore thumb. So yes. So it goes back to what I was saying, about Sammy and about Malinsky and everything. You gotta be slotted right, because if you're not, this league will expose you, and then will spit you back up and chew you up badly.
Is there
Yeah, with
anybody
Middleton,
else that you could see getting moved this summer? Realistically, just because we've touched on a lot of guys at this point, but
I mean, off of Colorado's roster or their defense, like specifically?
just off the we've talked about the potential of a Nietzsche's move. We've talked about Gerard. We've talked about a lot of these
Yeah,
guys. Middleton. Like,
I
is there anybody
I
else you
mean,
could see realistically getting moved?
Ross Colton's name is kind of always floated around in there in that conversation, but I think right now they don't have, like, they've got Jack Drury on their third line, which is probably, for my money, it's probably asking a little too much of him. But whatever, my opinion doesn't matter. And then Ross Colton is kind of it. So like you move, and Ross Colton is definitely a third line player or better, depending on the year and his injuries. So with Ross Colton, I think he at $4 million, he's fine value. I don't think they need to move the money as badly as they did. The Wood Coil double whammy really kind of took care of that. So I don't know that they would need to do that, but like it wouldn't be an incredible shock if they decided to move on from Gerard to throw Ross Colton into that deal to get something better, to get a higher caliber D. But then they would be looking at, okay, now you need to go and add another forward somewhere. So there is some work to do. I think the obvious answer is looking and calling up Florida and saying, hey, you're almost $4 million over the salary cap right now, and none of that is LTIR money. So what are you going to do? And uh, there are a number of players that you could have a conversation about there that would make sense for the Avalanche. Obviously, Evan Rodriguez. I would like to believe Nico Mikkola, but Mikkola would be kind of an odd fit just with his skating. In Colorado, I think it would be probably be asking a little much of him to be like a higher end player, but a really good third pairing player would be that would be I'd be very in for that. But yeah, I think that's where I would start is if they had any interest. But they've got the money to do it. It's just what would Florida want in return? So it's off their roster. Colton is the only other guy that would really make sense to answer your original
Yeah.
question.
Not the walrus there. He's funny. He's right. Jeff Finke. Finke was a great guy, but yeah, he signs that big deal, but that's not what you're getting there, and then you're playing out of spot, and it's tough on you. You know what I mean? That's a great point. And then he had a point too about Josh's extension too. And like I said earlier in the show, sometimes it gives you bigger value when you have an extension in place. And sometimes it does. You know what I mean? Just because if you're playing well. If you're not playing well, it's hard to move. Look at Miles, right? Miles wasn't playing well, and there was some years left on his deal. And it's like, oof. But if you're playing well and you
Yeah.
have some years to your thing, sometimes gives you better value, gives you more value. You know.
Makes sense. Just depends on what the team is looking for in the asset. We don't have a ton of time left here. A little over 5 minutes. There have been a couple of trades in the NHL that I think we wanted to hit on before we get out of here. Happy 7-Eleven day to everybody listening. I'm a pina colada slurpee kind of guy. Might have to go grab one of those after the show. But Dallas obviously moves Dumba. What do you think about this? Like, is this enough for them, or they're gonna have to make some more moves here with the pending Roberts deal?
Yeah, no, I think Dallas the Dallas did what they had to do, but it's basically they've got about 2 million in space. All their contracts are signed for this year. Their deals next year are going to be a much bigger question mark, and they have I think Jamie Benn's got a bunch of performance bonuses that could go against next year's cap as well. So they could be I think next year's cap is the much bigger problem for them. This year, I mean, as I mentioned, Kolyachonok may not even be on that roster, which is the return that they got there. So they've done nothing to make the right side of their defense better, which, unless you're a believer that addition by subtraction, they've replaced Cody Ceci with Niles Lundqvist. Lundqvist's a decent player, but that certainly isn't going to up the toughness factor there. Easy to play against player. So I'm not. Their biggest weakness remains their biggest weakness, and their biggest strength, which was the depth of their forward core, got worse. So, they're just not in a great position right now. They've barely managed to pay for the roster that they've currently built. A Jason Robertson deal would help them try to balance some of that and future cap problems, but what are they going to get for him? They, like Colorado, are low on assets. They've already gotten rid of 2 future first rounders, and now they've started dipping into their 2028 pool. They've moved a 2028 first and second round pick already. So you're talking about a team that has already started dipping into the future to try and pay for the now. They're not in a great position. The Dumba thing was something that just had to get done. It just had to. It was the only way. It was the only logical way that they were going to be able to get back under the cap, and they're not under it by very much. They don't have a lot of wiggle room to make moves, and any other moves that they make to try and improve the right side of their roster will likely cost them quality. So, like Colorado, they've gotten a little bit worse this offseason.
What do you think, E?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that it's hard to judge everybody's backyards. You know what I mean? When you're not the football, right? You know what I mean? And we can assume, which is fair to assume. That's what we do, right? That's what's fun, and that's why it's fun to interact with chat. But that to me feels like they had to do it because they seem to have a hard time with Robertson right now. It seems to be complicated. It seems to be like Marty-ish, right? It seems to be it's not smooth. It's not, and people will tell you, no, that's normal. It's normal. No, I find normal negotiations that are normal, and I find abnormal negotiations that are abnormal. You know what I mean? So that's the way I look at it over the years, and and it's fair. Some are easier than others. So for them, I think they had to do what they had to do with Dumba, and it cost them. And again, J. Mike said it earlier. You sign a guy to $12 million. There's got to be some casualties. It's just the way it is. And I'm not saying I wouldn't sign Mikko. I love Mikko. I'm just saying it just.
For sure.
I mean, everyone's talking about McDavid and Edmonton, and he's going to take $20 million, like whatever it is, the 20% of the cap. Oh, great, awesome. But you need players to play with. And if you don't take a lesson out of Florida, I don't want to hear about taxes and if you don't take a lesson out of Florida, like they're all taking less to stick together and win, and that's a fact. That's a fact. So we'll see what happens.
It will be interesting if in the end, if Robertson's willing to take a little bit less to stick around, and him and Mikko, obviously, if that's like your 1-2 in terms of offensive production, is pretty intriguing. But I don't know. I just keep coming back to like the comments C-Mac made throughout the spring about like essentially that being exactly what they were trying to avoid, was being in that spot that Dallas is in right now.
And they're not.
Where you're gonna have a top end roster and you're gonna have to figure out the bottom of it, and that's just the territory when you have to eventually pay your players. Florida's great trick is that all their top guys are underpaid and some of their complimentary guys are a little overpaid, and it all balances out to that's an insanely good roster that they have set up for future cap death, but they don't care about that right now.
You win a couple of cups, it's worth the cost.
They don't care about that. Don't care at all. They're trying to go full on dynasty right now. They can live with Brad Marchand's like 6 years or whatever.
I kind of love it. It's the gluttonous approach. It's like Super Bowl Sunday. I'm going to feel like crap on Monday, but I'm going all in today. I'm eating all the snacks. I'm going for glory in this exact moment.
Not walrus is my idol.
All right. Well, I think that's basically all we have for today. It's been fun rocking with all of you these last couple of days. I appreciate everybody bearing with me as I pinch hit for Rudo. Could never fill those shoes, far too big. But it's been a lot of fun. We're having some fun here in the summer. We'll be back Monday, me and E. So we'll get nice and weird. Should be fun for everybody. Hope everybody has a safe and fun weekend out there. How many times can I say fun in the last 30 seconds? We'll see. Much love, y'all. Later.
We all silly like the mayor.